Now, I am a short, small man, by definition, by label, by caricature, by stereotype, by proportions, by phenotype. That's the body posture behavior in a public way. The slouching, the fear on the face, the fear in the body presentation. I will be labeled as a little man who couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag. Leave the poor little man alone would be one of the labels. A female rescuer having seen me be harassed by obnoxious brute jock would say. Now, having said that with the forthrightness that it demands and the full honesty that it demands, that's the worst thing to be accused of. Now, I'm a former bodybuilder. I didn't do it right. I admit it. I trained on all the wrong information. I listened to the wrong people. I trained by admonition, advised by admonishment, I should say. That's reminders and warnings of horrific consequences if you don't do X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't take into consideration, does this particular individual in question have the capacity to do it? Physically, mentally, socially, experience is everything. But I think, and I keep reiterating it, you got to be, especially if you're a short man like myself, with no appearance and no personality. I've got a big face, big moon face, doofus. I look doofus. I've got Humpty Dumpty head. I've got projected head, no neck, short legs. I am ridiculous, been labeled as ridiculous to look at, okay? I'm telling it straight. And what I did, unfortunately, I rolled over and died with it. The answer is you got to begin. I don't care what Tony Robbins, after all the talk, after all the showmanship, finally gets down to the truth of it. You've got to be in tremendous shape to put all these admonishments that Tony Robbins is giving you into practice. I'm talking now, of course you understand, I'm talking from the point of view, I'm talking for my own. You short, small man. The Bagel Boss. These are my people, and I'm talking for them. You gotta you gotta build a discipline very hard. The short man, short, hideous, ridiculous looking man like me, who's not well disciplined, who hasn't learned the Arnold Schwarzenegger lesson, learn sleep faster. And the key is to stay alert and aware. And the key is to develop the will, the fortitude, the hard bark, and to completely desensitize the verbal insult. Desensitize. Now, I've been called every name in the book. I've been hit with every insult in the book there is to take. I've never had a date in my life. I've been a disaster with all women. Predicated, of course, on social skills, but on my ridiculous appearance. I'm a ridiculous looking man to look at. I'm short. I'm dumpy. I've got a big 46-inch belly. Big moon face. I look like E.T. I'm calling it on myself. You got to not run and hide. It's a lot better if you call it on yourself than if your opponent, and yes, I use that word opponent out there, calls it on you. You have to maintain, you have to be in the position to always be in control of yourself and where you are at the time. Now is the Fritz Perls, the great clinician, got it right. Now is power. Now is reality. Now is chance. Now is hope. Everything else is an afterthought to that. What you say, what you do, what I say I should say and do and present myself, my body language in the now determines how I'm going to think about it, how I'm going to conclude about it. And then you have to do the Marco step back. Marco step back is to step way back from the situation and gain as much objectivity on it as you possibly can. Ruthless objectivity. Once you've stated your case, you have to be rough on yourself, my friend. You have to recreate. There's no excuse not to do it. You have a camcorder in your phone. Recreate exactly the postures, the behaviors that caused what happened. Do a simulation, do a mock-up. Make it as realistic as possible. Find out what you did. What first premises you gave certain people that caused you problem. You have to look at it from every angle and move it around. Change perspectives, many perspectives, reframe it. Move around the circle. Talk to people. Come up with tactics and strategies that fit you, that you've come up with, and go back into your arena and push back on the resistance. Look for the resistance. Want the resistance. Love the resistance. Push back. Learn, push back. You have to live with yourself. That's the bottom line, my friend. You got to live with yourself. How does him live with himself when him do a thing like this? There's a lot of people love to give advice out there by admonishment. They stick out their chests. But who's giving the advice? They have a personality, they have an appearance, and they have a lot of finesse and cutesy-wootsy and all the damn body. You look at Tony Robbins. I can only take about 10 minutes of that fool. You get mesmerized. I can only take so much of that big man's body language. Damn, Tony, can't you say something without punching, karate chopping the air, waving them big hands in the air? Can't you say something and sit back and say it like a man? Like I'm talking to you right now. If this was Tony Robbins saying this, Tony Robbins, he'd be smiling, her hands would be pumping in the air. He'd be moving in, he'd be moving back. He'd be making certain you feel he is 6'6" or whatever the hell he is, that you feel his height. You feel his presence. This is an athletic individual breathing down your neck. That's the way I see it. That's the way I call it. I saw that movie with Shallow Hal, and that scene in the elevator, I'll never forget it. It was horrific. Where Shallow Hal, of course, comes under Tony's shoulder. And Tony grabbed him by his head. He loves to do that. And put them big hands around Shallow's head like he's crushing a grapefruit, crushing a coconut, and talking to Shallow. And Shallow's trying to flail. He looked like a little boy flailing. Tony has complete control of him. Once Tony's got control of him, then he smiles. Then he's benevolent, beautiful Tony, humane Tony. Now this is what I see. I could be wrong, I could be right. I'm calling it. That's all. I have only one obligation. Only one. I have to be true to myself. I'm calling it as I see it. What am I worth if I don't call it as I see it? I put the challenge out. Now I heard Bill Maher. I was never a Bill Maher fan, but I heard Bill Maher giving a very sensitive talk for 5 minutes. I was very impressed. Well, he wasn't clowning around. He wasn't all that phony body language, all that bullshit. And this idiot Gutfeld from the right, this idiot. And Maher spoke some truth in a positive way about the condition of the alienated man. Of course, I could add a lot more than what Bill Maher said, but it's a start. It's a point in the right direction. I don't have a forum. I don't have a name. I don't have a title. I don't have credibility. I don't have importance. But I could have added a lot more to what Bill Maher said, but he was heading in the right direction. Any question?